What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new Warzone 2 video. Today we're taking a look at the top 5 best setups you guys should be using here in Warzone 2. If you guys happen to enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe as notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. I just want to point this out here. Of course, we got the M4 starting off as our first gun. We just have a random secondary. It's up to you guys if you want to run overkill or something like that, but we just happen to have the heartbeat sensor, Semtex, and the perk package kind of is up to you guys what you want to be able to run. Some people like running Warden. If you guys want to do that, weapon specialist if you want to run something like overkill, just because that's the only way you can actually run it right now. Or the other one a lot of people like to run is Vanguard. So between those three, it's kind of like the way to go. Now hopping into the M4, the first attachment we got on here is going to be the Echoless-80. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. This is a great silencer to be able to run on this gun. It really is going to help level this gun out and make you more effective at range, which is something we definitely really like for this gun. The tune on this thing here is going to be a plus 1.04 on that left side and a plus 0.45 on the bottom. This is a great way to tune the suppressor, and I just got to point this out there that you guys don't have to max out your tunings on one side or the other. That can really mess the tune up. So I just got to put it out there because a lot of people don't really know that right now. It can kind of be a little bit more detrimental sometimes to do that, as opposed to just kind of putting it somewhere at least in the middle or at a specific spot, kind of like this. Next up in the barrel section, we go for the HIGHTOWER 20 barrel. Bullet velocity increase, damage range increase, recoil control, and of course hipfire accuracy. We don't really care as much about the hipfire accuracy, but it can kind of come in a little bit clutch every now and again. But the other three things, what we're mainly looking for. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.05, so just barely past the middle there, and a plus 0.04, once again barely past the middle there on the bottom. You really don't have to tune this too much because the movement is actually pretty drastic right off rip as soon as you start moving it. So going all the way to one side is not really going to do you much benefit. After that, we're going to go to the optics section. This is actually a pretty good one to be able to use right here. One of my personal favorites, the AIM-OP-V4. This is a great red dot sight. More or less kind of like an enhanced red dot. It's not quite a red dot, but you guys get what I'm saying. So it's definitely really solid in that regard. The tune on this here is going to be a negative 1.16 there on that left side, just kind of giving us a little bit more ADS. And we've actually gone full ahead, and we've gone all the way to the right side there for a negative 1.65 in far. And for those guys that don't really know what the far or close actually means, that just kind of means the way the optic is positioned on your gun. Closer means that's going to bring your optic visually closer to you on your screen, and farther away is going to push it a little bit farther away on the gun. So that means you can see more of your surrounding area, and it kind of also makes it look like it has a little bit less visual recoil. You know what I'm saying? So kind of makes your guns feel like they have less recoil when it's farther away as opposed to close up. That's why when you play on 120 FOV, you don't ever want to zoom back into 80 because your guns look like they got so much more recoil. After that, though, for our last attachment, we're just going down here for the magazine. We're going to throw on the 45 round mag. You guys can throw on the 45 or the 60. It's kind of up to you. But I mean, honestly, you're going to get slowed down a little bit more with the 60. So, I mean, even though I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? I love that 60. The 45 can be a little bit more beneficial in certain cases, maybe for like solos or duos, but maybe for like trios and quads and stuff like that. Probably a 60 would be a better bet for a lot of you out there. So this is my full builds here for the M4. Let's actually hop in the firing range and actually show you guys how this does work. So right here, close range, medium range, super easy to control. Even at long range, absolutely beautiful. I mean, the ADS is pretty solid on this thing. It's not going to be super fast, but I mean, for an AR, dude, you're going to be taking people out so fast. So hope you guys enjoyed this build. Now let's move on to the next one. All right, next up, we're taking a look here at the FENNEC 45. This is a great SMG, but we're hopping into the first attachment on this, and that's going to be the X10RR-40. This is going to give us that increase in sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. A really clutch attachment for this gun to kind of really help round out this whole thing. Definitely love the X10RR-40. I've ran this in multiplayer, ran this in Warzone. It's actually really, really solid. After that, though, for the tune, though, we're going to go for a 0.45 on that left side and a plus 0.35 on the bottom. Like I've always said, you don't have to max out the attachments. I feel like some people just don't know that, and I do like to explain it here frequently just in case someone happens to miss it. But that's going to be they're tuning that. Now in the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the FSS SHARKFIN 90. This is going to help us out with that aiming idle stability. It says it's a well-rounded angled foregrip for those who prefer accuracy while on the move, and that's pretty much what you're going to be doing with this gun. You're going to be running around close quarter situations, so this is really going to help you out on the move, and that's pretty much the primary, point for this thing. The tune on this is going to be a negative 0.49 on that left side and a plus 0.17 here on the bottom. This is a very good way to be able to tune this, and it just really utilizes, the benefits of the FSS SHARKFIN 90 without, messing the attachment up. After that, though, magazine section, to go through on the FENNEC 45 round mag, or the FENNEC Mag 45, whatever you want to call it, but pretty much it's going to give you your base, from 30 up to 45 rounds, which is definitely like super needed in Warzone, and just sometimes even in multiplayer as well, because this has got a really high rate of fire, pretty much like one of the fastest TTKs in the game. So you're gonna be blown through that, you know, magazine very, very fast. And if you get caught, you know, kind of pants down, not reloaded in Warzone, even in multiplayer, you're gonna die. So definitely good to have a little bit extra rounds in the magazine so you don't get caught in that really awkward situation where you run out of ammo and you can't, you know, reload, cancel, anything else like that. After that, though, for our stock attachment, we're going to go for the FTAC light Locktite stock. Kind of a bit of a tongue twister right there, kind of messed up a little bit, but crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and of course aim down sight speed. I don't really care as much about the crouch movement speed. That's not really my focal point for this thing. I really care about just the other two. I like being super agile, super mobile, and I mean, if I'm running this as my secondary, kind of more or less, then I definitely want to be able to be as agile as possible and be able to maneuver around efficiently. So that's why we're, you know, running this. The tune on this thing here is going to be maxed out down for that ADS speed, and we're also going to go for a 0.31 or negative 0.31 there on the bottom. You guys don't have to get like the exact, you know, 0.31, but if you can at least get around there, that's more or less going to do you some benefit. Just kind of play with it a little bit, but this is how I've had these, you know, pretty much fine-tuned. I found like what works best for me, what works best for a lot of other people out there, so that's why these are tuned this specific way. Then for our last attachment, we're going to go for the laser section. We're on the VLK Laser 7MW. This is a very, you know, pretty early on attachment. I feel like a lot of people got, but gives you that increase in ADS speed, aiming stability, and of course sprint to fire speed. There will be a bit of a downside though, that people can see that laser, so that's not necessarily the greatest thing, but overall having, you know, that increase in all those things is fantastic. So this is my full builds here for the FENNEC. Let's actually hop in, you know, the firing range here, and I'll show you guys. I mean, look at it, super effective, very, very good. We're not even gonna try at that long range because that's not what the FENNEC is used for. I mean, of course, just super close range, very fast, very easy. I mean, just minimal recoil control is pretty much all it takes, but that is my FENNEC 45 setup. Now let's move on to our next gun. Now for our next gun, we're taking a look at the TAC-56. This is a fantastic AR, pretty much an AR you can build to have 0 recoil, which is one of the primary things we really look for here in Warzone. Great damage profile, 0 recoil. That's pretty much the go-to. So the first attachment on here is going to be the Echolist-80. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. Overall, a fantastic attachment to run on the TAC-56. Definitely can help smooth this gun out. Pretty much make it jump a little bit less and give you more damage range, which is always awesome. The tune on this is going to be a plus 1.08 there on the top and a plus 0.45 on the bottom for that increase more so to bullet velocity, and the increase up there for more so recoil smoothness. Definitely want to smooth this gun out. We're not as concerned with the ADS speed. Definitely want to make sure this thing is as accurate in hitting its shots, you know, for as long distance as possible. Next up in the barrel section, the 17.5 Tundra Pro barrel damage range, hipfire accuracy, bullet velocity. This is one of those cases where we like 2 out of the 3 benefits here. Don't care as much about that hipfire accuracy, kind of like the HIGHTOWER barrel for the M4. Don't care as much about that, but it's actually pretty cool that you get that as well. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.27 there on the left side and a plus 0.112 or plus 0.112 there on the bottom. I thought I almost messed that one up, but this is how we've had this thing tuned, and it works out beautifully here in Warzone 2. After that, though, in the underbarrel section, the FTAC Ripper 56 is going to be our go-to underbarrel. Aiming idle stability, hipfire accuracy, and of course recoil stabilization. This kind of almost weirdly pairs well with that barrel just because you get hipfire accuracy on both of those things. So if you kind of get caught in those weird situations where maybe you can't swap to a secondary fast enough and you just got to be able to use your primary, this can actually come in a little bit clutch and helping you maybe out hipfire somebody, or just being able to, you know, get a few more shots in on someone while you're in the process of ADSing, if you guys get what I'm talking about. But overall, the FTAC Ripper 56 is a fantastic underbarrel. The tune on this is going to be a 0.54 on the left side and a 0.17 on the bottom. So definitely try this one out here. And now for our other attachment, down in the magazine section, you got to throw on the 60-round mag. You know what I'm saying? I'm a 60-round mag kind of guy, so we're going to throw on that 60-round mag. It doesn't affect this gun too much, and I feel it's just kind of a little bit necessary to be able to run because it's so low recoil. You can hit so many shots at longer ranges that it's almost like I want to be a little bit more on target, you know, with more ammo. So I just feel like the 60-round mag works a little bit better in this as opposed to, you know, the 60-round mag in the M4. But like I said, that's kind of personal preference. It's going to slow down a little bit more, but not too much. Then for our last attachment here, the optic section, we got the AIM OP-V4, much like we did for the M4. Precision and sight picture, pretty much just like a very minimal zoom, but it's super easy to be able to see people, and that's why we really like it. But you know, this thing here is going to be a negative 1.55 and then a negative 1.65 all the way maxed out there to that right side. Like I said earlier, when you push it to the far, that means it, you know, visually pushes the sight farther away from you. When you make it close, that means it pulls the sight closer to you visually. So definitely go ahead and always use like the far. That really helps you out quite a bit in Warzone. But this is my full builds here. Now let's actually hop into the fire range and show you guys how this actually performs. So look at that, super easy, low recoil. Very minimal recoil control. I'm pulling out on the stick ever so slightly, but it is just unbelievably smooth. I mean, you can just beam people at range. That is ridiculous. So I hope you guys enjoyed this TAC 56 setup, and of course, this is a cool variant. But now let's move on to our next gun. Our next gun here today is going to be the RPK. This is a fantastic LMG, probably the most meta LMG out there, so you guys should definitely be using it. But our first attachment is going to be the POLARFIRE-S. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. Overall, fantastic suppressor to run on this gun. Absolutely love it. The tune on this thing here is going to be a 0.45 on that left side and a 0.52 there on the bottom. Really don't gotta go too crazy with this thing. It just works out really nice if you tune it that way. After that, we're going to go down to the underbarrel section, and we're throwing the FTAC Ripper 56, aiming idle stability, for accuracy, and of course recoil stabilization. Pretty standard, tried and true, works out beautifully. The tune on this thing here is going to be a 0.54 on that left side and a 0.17 on the bottom. Pretty standards are actually the same exact values as what we had for the POLARFIRE-S, if I'm not mistaken. A 4.5, actually, and a 0.52. My bad. Maybe I was just tweaking out right there. But anyways, let's actually move over to the rear grip section, Demo-X2 grip. This is going to help us out with that recoil control. Absolutely love the Demo X2. Really does help out. You really don't notice too much that aiming idle stability or the aiming stability sort of decrease. Well, the tune on this is going to be a 0.61, a negative 0.61, and a plus 0.25 on that bottom section. So really solid way to be able to run this thing. Just kind of helps, you know, stabilize out the gun, as that's a huge thing here in Warzone. But we did have to get a little bit more ADS here out of this, since it pretty much wasn't meant for getting faster ADS. Above this, though, in the stock section, we got the heavy support stock for aiming idle stability and recoil control. This is going to be huge here in Warzone, just to be able to hit those shots, you know, be as on target as possible. As you know, the TTK is pretty fast. So if you can land those shots, you're going to be, you know, in pretty good business. The tune on this is going to be a negative 1.94 on the left, and then a plus 1.32 on the bottom. That is how we have this thing tuned out. And then for our last attachment, once again, the AIM OP-V4. Pretty standard. I've talked about this here a few times already. Great for those longer range weapons. The tune on this is going to be a negative 1.55 and then a negative 1.65. Of course, pushing the sight all the way away from us. But this is my full build here for the RPK. Now let's actually hop into the firing range and show you guys how this performs. Very easy. Nice. I mean, and we still got 51 rounds more in the magazine. That's why it's beautiful having an LMG with 75. So this is almost like a 75 round AR, which is pretty dang cool. But now let's move on to our next gun. I said next gun, but we're going to be looking at our final gun here, the LACHMANN-SUB, an incredible secondary to run, pretty much besides the FENNEC 45. This is a really great one. So first attachment, the X10RR-40, a great suppressor here. Ain't got to explain this one too much since I already have talked about it a little bit. Tune on this thing here is going to be a plus 0.45 on the left side and a plus 0.35 on the bottom. Works out very, very nicely to have this tuned this way. Next up is going to be the barrel, the FTAC-M-SUB 12 barrel, bullet velocity increase, damage range increase, and of course recoil control and hipfire accuracy. Gotta love that. This is a great barrel to kind of make this gun a little bit more effective. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.21 on the left and a plus 0.27 on the bottom. Got to get a little bit more damage range out of this thing to make it just a tad bit more effective. Helps that damage drop off and everything else like that. Next up, we're going to go to the laser section, the VLK Laser 7MW, aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and of course sprint to fire speed. And of course you cannot tune this just because you can't tune any of the lasers, any of the magazines, anything else like that. But pretty much speaking of the next thing, the magazine, we're going to go for that 40 round mag. We don't really have to go for the 50. That's going to slow us down a little bit too much here, and 40 seems to be perfectly fine. So definitely go and try this out. I mean, you can always experiment, but pretty much stay away from that 50 round mag. That is ridiculous. Don't ever do that. It's a bunch of shenanigans. So 40 or 50, it's up to you guys and what you want to be able to use and choose, but just kind of between the two of those. And for our last attachment on this gun, we'll run the LACHMANN TCG-10 rear grip for that increase in overall recoil control. Really solid rear grip. And now let's actually tell you guys the tune. That's going to be a negative 0.32 on that left side and a plus 0.17 here on the bottom. But this is my full builds here for the LACHMANN-SUB. Now let's show you guys here on the fire range how this performs at closer to medium-ish range. So very, very easy to use. Look at that. Pretty much an absolute laser beam at close to medium range. Gotta love that. I mean, listen, you really can't get much better than that. Super easy to use. But this has been my full top 5. You guys enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Just so much, Captain. Don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.